You know, when you go to cook a piece of meat, if that's what you do, and you put it on the grill or the barbecue or something, and the grill is not hot enough yet, how you see all the kind of like all the juices start to seep out of it. What's happening is that it's stewing or broiling instead of digesting. And that's what happens to us if our gut chemistry is out of balance. So I thought I'd do a podcast just on the digestive bitters. Now, the digestive bitters are the foods and herbs that we use to bring that gut chemistry back into balance. So let's start. How do I know if I've got high or low stomach acids? That's it. How do you know? An easy, simple way. And you know, it's not a hard and fast rule, but it's a good indicator. And that's after eating. If when you're eating, you're doing repeated burping, it can, you know, early on after you've eaten, it can be a case of having too much stomach acid. Now, this is different to like normal kind of small burps if you're just swallowing too much air, drinking water and that. But actually, when you're first eating early on, if you know, burping that straight away, that can be too much. Where burping after 3 to 5 minutes is an indication generally of a lower stomach acid level. So stomach acid, what we care about as naturopaths is the digestive enzyme process of the food actually digesting. The right balance of all those acids and enzymes is what we care about. So what is the remedy? If you are doing that burping thing, or you think, oh, you know, I'm getting bloated after a meal and food's just not sitting right, what's the remedy? So digestive bitters are they're like a class of herbs that are said to help digestion because of the bitter taste. They stimulate, even just thinking about it, because I do a lot of time in Asia and they're big on eating the bitter foods. But even just thinking about it, I can feel myself, the saliva excreting, because that's what it does. It tells our body to get ready for digestion to start, which means it starts with making more saliva. And then that has that action of actually helping your body to be able, or your gut chemistry to be able to get in that place where it's ready to digest the food that you're going to eat. Now, we know that chewing is a huge part of the process to good digestion, and that's because all the saliva is all part of it. Now, digestive bitters are great because they have this kind of two-way action. One is that they absolutely stimulate stomach acids. So this is an alternative to what we call betaine hydrochloride, which is that enzyme that we're looking for in foods. The other thing they do is they help to support bile production, which helps your body with the fat digestion process. That's it. And also about your body being able to lower cholesterol levels. So really important. And bitter foods, they're really nutritious. They've got, you know, all the plant-based kind of constituents, and they've got way more than just gut chemistry health benefits, but they're really important to gut chemistry. Now, the gut is integral to everything in all body systems. So getting that chemistry right and having good digestive bitters in your diet help with things like cancers and heart disease and diabetes and gut and eye and liver health and all our body systems very much. So I really wanted to talk into this because in the past, I've done so much work in Asia for the last 20 years as a professional speaker. And I know up there so much, my translators, it cracks them up because every meal you'll get, you know, I get served things like bitter melon. And bitter melon, when I first remember the first time I ate it, it was like, holy shit, what is this? So imagine it's like this luscious looking stir fry made, and it's all bitter vegetables, and particularly things like bitter melon. And I love so much that in the Asian countries, they eat for purpose. Us whiteys, we eat for pleasure. The Western world eats for pleasure more than purpose. They eat for purpose. They tend to eat with the seasons. They also tend to eat from prevention. And I love that. That just fits everything in me as a naturopath. And so it's something that I've really taken on myself over the years. So what are some of the digestive bittery kind of foods that are rich in these bitters? Now, when you eat them, they're bitter. That's it. That's the whole thing. They're bitter for a reason. They're going to make you saliva secrete, and you kind of go, ugh. But once you get used to eating them, they're really cool. Now, bitter melon, totally at the top of the list, and it's one that we eat almost daily when I'm up in Asia. It's huge. Another one is dandelion greens. Now, dandelions, that little yellow flower, it's an amazing herb that we use for liver support and everything in clinic. But the greens, you know, in Australia, we see it as a bloody weed, but you go and pick those greens, they make the most amazing, whether steamed or in salads. They're so good for you. Cranberries have a bitterness to them. Broccoli has a bitterness to it. Rocket, we call it rocket. Like North Americans call it arugula, but rocket. And when you taste it, it's got that peppery kind of bitterness. Kale, again, another bitter. Things like endive, they're really cool digestive bitters. Now, the higher up the list, so things like bitter melon is way better for your gut than broccoli. However, at least be starting to do that. Rocket, I grow rocket and kale in my garden. That I'll sit down to a salad based on those kind of greens before I'll sit down to a salad based on bloody iceberg lettuce. It's, in my mind, it's got nothing in it. So when it comes to fruit, we're looking at the enzymes. And so fruits like, the pawpaw, which some people call papaya, kiwi fruit, fresh pineapple, figs, all contain the enzymes called protease. Now, protease speed up that breakdown of proteins. And in fact, if you want to make the best, if you're a meat eater, I am not, but if you're a meat eater, don't pash your meat, mash something like kiwi fruit or fresh pineapple or pawpaw onto the meat. It is the most insane tenderizer. It is, because it's kind of pre-digesting the food, which is huge. So those enzymes are great. I've spoken about those fruit in the past, things like kiwi fruit, pineapple, fresh pawpaw in the past. Remember, I've always said that those enzymes are only live for about 15, 20 minutes. So if you cut the fruit, make a big fruit salad, chuck it in your fridge, you're going to lose the enzyme action. You'll still get lots of goodness out of the food, but you won't get the enzymes. If you want the enzyme, that's why I'm a big kiwi fruit eater, because they're a perfect size. I can eat one in a sitting and pull up those enzymes naturally. Cool. So that's the enzymes and bitters when it comes to foods. So you're thinking, not a big fan of bitter melon. I don't know. Do I need some extra digestive bitters as a supplement? Well, you might. Now, how do you take digestive bitters first? The first thing is you take them generally about 10 minutes before you start eating, if you can. That's the ideal way, or at least include those kind of foods in your meal. That's really important. Now, you notice it's the week between Christmas and New Year here right at the moment as I record this. And you might have noticed Christmas dinner, you ate heavier, stodgier kind of foods and you were feeling bloated and gassy. And if you'd had, even something simple like some kiwi fruit or some fresh, pineapple or something before your meal, your body will have had a better chance at rebalancing the acidity in the stomach, and your your LES would have kept closed. And you're going, hang on, what's your LES? It's your lower esophageal sphincter, your LES. And it's what it is. It's a bundle of muscles at the end of the esophagus. So down here, the kind of upper gut part, where if you're going to get that heartburn kind of feeling, that's where you feel it. So it's meant to close properly. And when it does close properly, the stomach acids and contents can't travel backwards up from the stomach. So one thing you can do to really directly help your LES is apple cider vinegar. And a lot of practitioners, will prescribe a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar in a little bit of water or some lemon juice before you eat, because that can stimulate the acid production ready for digestion before your meal. Or you can consider taking a betaine hydrochloride kind of supplement. That's possible too. So coming from a place of prevention, if you tend to get bloated, gassy, or indigestion, prep your stomach beforehand. It's interesting. The digestive system is the biggest body system that naturopaths think entirely opposite to the way doctors do. They'll prescribe, if someone's got over acid, they'll prescribe a medication to suppress acid instead of getting the enzyme production right to help, rectify the problem, not just be dealing with a symptom all the time. Now, I'm not giving any medical advice here, please know that. But if you are suffering with things like indigestion and heartburn and nausea, cramping, bloating, gassy, give it a go. Give it a go. It might be as simple as some apple cider vinegar before your meal, and bring some of your bitter herbs into your meals more often. It can be that simple. Now, in a tonic form in clinic, we would usually prescribe digestive bitters in an alcoholic suspension, like a tonic, and the alcohol is there. Most herbal suspensions are done as an alcohol, and it's kind of like it's the solvent used to carry the herbs into your body. So the amount, if you're taking a 5 ml dose or a 3 ml dose or something, the amount of alcohol you get is nothing. But it's if you want an alcohol-free kind of version, we usually get you to add a bit of warm, water to it and allow that the alcohol to evaporate off before you actually take the supplement. Just if you are taking herbs, that's something you can do. Now, you might be an Aussie listening to this, and I've got listeners from all over the world. It's crazy how many countries listen to my podcast nowadays. But if you're an Aussie or a Kiwi, you're probably thinking, oh, I like my lemon, lime, and bitters. So for those of you who are not from Australia and New Zealand, lemon, lime, and bitters is a popular drink that we drink. It's a refreshing, non-alcoholic drink. And what it is, it's literally a combination of lemon and lime and digestive bitters in a like, you can have it in a soda water base or something like that. So the bitters that are used in a lemon, lime, and bitters are the Angostura bitters. And the recipe of those bitters, it's an old herbal remedy, but it was very much made with things like gentian and other herbs and spices that are in that category. And I love that in times gone past, you know, the healers of the time, they made herbal remedies. They became part of day-to-day life. But in our times, we don't think to use things like that. And the herb gentian is an amazing bitter herb, digestive bitter herb, that's so good for our health. Tastes like shit, but in combination with other herbs, it's so good for us. So what are some of the bitter herbs? They're things like horseradish, they're things like parsley, coriander. How many people love coriander or hate coriander? Chamomile, mint, horehound, gentian, they're amazing. And you might be thinking, okay, cool, well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to have the bitter foods and the bitter fruits, and I'm going to have the bitter herbs. Can you have too many digestive bitters? Well, everything in nature, you know, our bodies don't like extremes. It doesn't like too much of anything. You know what it's like if you lay in bed, you have too much sleep versus not enough sleep. You can still feel like you're dragging your ass. Our bodies like that kind of middle ground, not the big extremes. So it is possible to have too much of a good thing. So eating too many of them, it can give you the same kind of symptoms like, you know, bloating and gassy and a bit of diarrhea as that you may be getting from having not enough digestive bitters, if that makes sense. So in this podcast, I've given you like some foods and some fruits and some herbs that you can have a look at. If you are experiencing gassing, bloating, things like that, I really encourage you to just try it on. Find a couple of these foods and bring them into your life as a regular routine and see how your body deals with it. You might be the person who's going to try some apple cider vinegar before a meal or some lemon juice before a meal. I give you 2 healthy life hacks today. One is to think about it, like really bring in some digestive bitter herbs and foods into your regular meals. That's it. And healthy life hack number 2 is what that's all about. It's about living from a place of prevention. Don't wait to get bloated and farty and uncomfortable in the gut and long-term doing something to upset your body system. Support it now. Live from a place of prevention. That's healthy life hack number 2. Bring, you know, like I said, I make my salad with things like rocket and kale versus bloody iceberg lettuce. Why? Because I know it's so good for my gut. I really like looking after gut chemistry. I'm a big eater. I have kiwi fruit every single day because I know how good it is for me. Grow my own pineapples. It's simple stuff that we can do that really makes a difference. If you would like to get a copy of the show notes so you can go back and have a look at the lists of those fruits and foods and herbs that I recommend, go to www.healthylifehacks.com.au.